Please share your screen.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, is my screen
Yeah, it is
visible?
visible. Yes, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening to all my friends who are seeing from India. I thank EPUCG for providing me this platform so that I could represent my country and speak about something about non-small cell lung carcinomas. Starting with my topic is use of immunohistochemistry for typing of non-small cell lung carcinoma. Before I move on to lung carcinoma, I'll discuss a little about carcinomas. Carcinomas as such are one of the major global burden all over the world. About 1 in 6 deaths occur due to carcinoma worldwide. So some eye-opening statistics according to the Globocon 2020. This International Agency for Research in Cancer released a Globocon 2020 on 14 December, which with new estimates that the global burden has risen to approximately 19.3 million cases worldwide, and the deaths which occur due to cancer are around 10 million. In India, 13.9 lakh cases are estimated in 2020, and they are projected to rise to 15.7 lakh by 2025, according to the National Cancer Registry Program Report 2020. Now, coming over to the lung carcinoma, according to Globocon 2020, the lung carcinoma cases account to 11.4% cases worldwide, which is a huge number. The lung carcinoma closely follows breast carcinoma, which accounts to 11.7% cases, and following breast and lung are the colorectal, prostate, stomach, liver, cervix, esophagus, and other cancers. Number of deaths which are seen, number of deaths due to lung carcinoma are 18%, which is a huge chunk as seen by the deaths due to other carcinomas. In world, 1.7 million deaths occur due to lung carcinoma alone. And in US, 1,50,000 deaths occur due to lung carcinoma. And in India, 9.3% of all cancer-related deaths are due to lung carcinoma alone. So seeing at these statistics, we can very well imagine how important it is to talk about lung carcinoma and to see all the diagnostic modalities so we could treat the patient and prevent the death rate and just lower down the mortality due to lung carcinoma. Lung carcinoma are further classified into small cell lung carcinoma and non-small cell lung carcinoma. Small cell lung carcinoma is a neuroendocrine tumor that arises in the hilum of smokers and carries a very poor prognosis. Now, I will not talk much about small cell lung carcinoma. Moving on to the non-small cell lung carcinoma, which is my topic for discussion today. Non-small cell lung carcinoma is divided into adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and large cell carcinoma according to the histology. Adenocarcinoma accounts for 60% of the cases of lung carcinoma, followed by squamous cell carcinoma, which account for 30% of cases, and then large cell carcinoma, which is approximately 10% of all the cases. Now, very important question that arises in all our minds is why there is a need to subtype non-small cell lung carcinoma. Well, non-small cell lung carcinoma, the specific subtypes of non-small cell lung carcinoma display varying response to different chemotherapeutic agents. There is a marked difference in the prognostic and treatment implications among different lung tumors, so accurate subtyping with molecular characterization is very critical. Like for example, in lung adenocarcinomas, the key oncogenic driver mutations are mutually exclusive activating mutation of KRAS and EGFR. Now, KRAS mutation occurs in smokers, having adenocarcinoma on the H&E sections that we see. EGFR mutations occur in never smoking people, having adenocarcinoma histology, having female gender and Asian ethnicity. Now, EGFR, EGFR tyrosine kinase inhibitors like erlotinib and gefitinib, they are effective in EGFR mutated tumors. So before giving EGFR tyrosine kinase inhibitors, it is very important that we see that whether the lung carcinoma is small cell or non-small cell. If it is non-small cell, then on doing H&E and then further subjecting these to immunohistochemistry, we confirm that it is an adenocarcinoma. And then further on, we move to the molecular characterization of the tumor. Another very important translocation that we see in lung adenocarcinomas is translocation of the ALK gene. Now, ALK gene, it usually fuses with a very important fusion partner, that is EML-M4, and this further leads to the overexpression of the oncogenic ALK protein. Now, ALK tyrosine kinase inhibitors, crizotinib, it is now recommended as the first-line therapy for ALK translocation. So we can very well see, if we know that the lung carcinoma which we are seeing is lung adenocarcinoma, and we further subject it to molecular characterization, and then we can see whether it is KRAS, EGFR, ALK gene, and we can provide with the targeted therapy. This will benefit the patient. So tumor histology itself predicts the response to the therapy. Now, treatment with the vascular endothelial growth factor, which we do give in adenocarcinomas like bevacizumab, it can precipitate life-threatening pulmonary hemorrhage in patients with squamous cell carcinoma. So if we do not know whether it is squamous or adeno, and we start with the treatment with bevacizumab, it can threaten the patient's life. This has also resulted in exclusion of patients whose tumors show squamous differentiation from being treated with bevacizumab or with Pemetrexed. Pemetrexed is a folate antimetabolite, which is also inhibited, its use is inhibited in patients with squamous cell carcinoma. Moving on, pulmonary squamous cell carcinoma. Pulmonary squamous cell carcinoma arises from the bronchial epithelium of the larger, more central airways. It progresses through a series of pre-invasive neoplastic lesions from squamous metaplasia to squamous dysplasia and finally carcinoma in situ. Squamous dysplasia is graded into mild, moderate, and severe according to the architectural and cytologic atypia, which is seen in the epithelium, squamous epithelium. In mild, we see the epithelial atypia of around less than 1/3. In moderate, it varies from 1/3 to 2/3, and in severe, it is more than 2/3. And finally, carcinoma in situ. Molecular alteration, which we see in squamous cell carcinoma, is a multi-stage progression. The early event starts with loss of heterozygosity at 3p21, 9p21, and then following deregulation of telomerase activity, p53 mutation, deregulation of cell proliferation, and apoptosis. The characteristic morphological features of squamous differentiation are intercellular bridges, individual cell keratinization, and keratin pearl formation. So here we can see, this is the gross image showing a cavitating malignancy, a central cavitating malignancy, which is squamous cell carcinoma. These are the photomicrographs. Here we can see the keratin pearl formation. In this photomicrograph, we can see the intercellular bridges and individual cell keratinization. In this photomicrograph, we cannot see the pearl formation, or we cannot clearly appreciate the intercellular bridges. So we can term this as poorly differentiated carcinoma favoring squamous cell carcinoma. So cases like these are subjected to immunohistochemistry, and so that we can reach to the final diagnosis. Lung adenocarcinoma. Lung adenocarcinoma are the peripheral tumors which arise from the alveolar or bronchiolar epithelium, pneumocytes or Clara cells. According to the new International Association for the Study of Lung Carcinoma and American Thoracic Society and European Respiratory Society classification, it recognizes pre-invasive adenocarcinoma lesions that are atypical adenomatous hyperplasia, and adenocarcinoma in situ. Atypical adenomatous hyperplasia is a localized proliferation of 0.5 centimeter or less, a proliferation of mild to moderate atypical type 2 pneumocytes or Clara cells, which line the alveolar wall and sometimes the respiratory bronchioles. Adenocarcinoma in situ is a localized, small, less than 3 centimeter adenocarcinoma with growth restricted to the neoplastic cells along the pre-existing alveolar structures, and they lack any stromal, vascular, or pleural invasion. Molecular alteration, as discussed before, in non-smokers, it is mostly the EGFR signaling, and in smokers, it is the KRAS signaling pathway. So the histologic characteristic of lung adenocarcinoma are presence of glandular differentiation with or without mucin production. Here we can see the gross image of the peripheral lesions as seen here, which can be possibly due to adenocarcinoma. And these are the histological images showing varied patterns seen in adenocarcinoma. In this photomicrograph, we can see the lipidic fashion of the adenocarcinoma. Here we can see the glandular architecture of the adenocarcinoma. In this, we can see the papillae as well as the micropapillary formations. Here we can very well appreciate the micropapillae which are present in these air spaces. Here we can see the solid pattern, and in this photomicrograph, there is presence of solid pattern as well as papillae as well as micropapillae. Now coming over to the large cell carcinoma. Large cell carcinoma, represents approximately 3% of the all lung carcinomas, 3 to 10%. So it is mostly a diagnosis of occlusion. When the tumor demonstrates no morphological feature, which is diagnostic of adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, or small cell lung carcinoma, we characterize the carcinoma as large cell carcinoma. They are large, partially necrotic tumors composed of sheets and nests of large polygonal cells with vesicular nuclei and prominent nucleoli. On seeing the morphology on H&E sections, then these tumors, they are subjected to immunohistochemistry. Here we can see a photomicrograph of a squamous cell carcinoma. We can very well appreciate the keratinization and the keratin pearl formation, which is seen in this photomicrograph. Squamous cell carcinoma, the immunohistochemistry used in squamous cell carcinoma is cytokeratin 5/6 and P63. This is a photomicrograph of adenocarcinoma. The immunohistochemistry used is TTF1, napsin A, and cytokeratin 20 is used in, it is positive in metastatic adenocarcinomas. Primary lung adenocarcinoma is negative for cytokeratin 20, whereas all the metastatic deposits from colorectal or Merkel cell carcinoma, they are positive for cytokeratin 20. So it is a very important marker to differentiate between primary and metastatic lung adenocarcinomas. Now coming to TTF1, thyroid transcription factor 1. It is a 38 kilodalton homeodomain protein belonging to the NKX2 family. It has a nuclear positivity. It is present in the follicular cells of the thyroid, areas of the developing brain, type 2 pneumocytes, non-ciliated bronchiolar epithelial cells. It helps to distinguish between primary lung adenocarcinoma from tumors that have metastasized from other sources. So here, this is a photomicrograph showing the nuclear positivity of TTF1 in a lung adenocarcinoma. Napsin A. Napsin A is another important marker. It is a cytoplasmic marker. It is aspartic proteinase, which is involved in the maturation of surfactant protein B. It is found primarily in lung and kidney. Here we can see the cytoplasmic positivity in the cancer cells, in the adenocarcinoma cancer cells. Now, cytokeratin 20. Cytokeratin 20 is a low molecular weight cytokeratin. It distinguishes primary lung adenocarcinoma from metastatic adenocarcinoma. It is specific for the normal intestinal mucosa, gastric foveolar epithelium, umbrella cells in urothelium, and epidermal Merkel cells. It is positive in carcinoma of colon, ovary, urinary tract, pancreas, gastric, bile duct, and it is positive in metastatic adenocarcinoma. This photomicrograph shows positive cytoplasmic staining for the metastatic lung adenocarcinoma. Cytokeratin 5/6. Cytokeratin 5/6 is a dominant intermediate filament, which is a protein which is present in the epithelial cells. It is found in normal breast myoepithelial cells, prostate basal cells of the skin, and salivary gland. So positive IHC demonstrates cytoplasmic and membranous staining. So this photo micrograph shows the cytoplasmic staining of the cytokeratin 5/6. P63. P63 is a member of P53 family. It is important in the development of the epithelial tissue. It appears to regulate growth and development of the epithelial organs. It is a molecular switch for initiation of epithelial stratification program. It is typically a nuclear stain, and it plays a role in squamous cell carcinoma of lung, head and neck, cervix, and its expression is increased in these tumors. Here we can see the nuclear positivity of P63 stain. So coming to the gist of all the immunohistochemistry that can be used in squamous cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma. Here we can see the H&E stain section of squamous cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma. On squamous cell carcinoma is positive for cytokeratin 5/6, which is seen, the cytoplasmic staining is seen in this photomicrograph. Squamous cell carcinoma is also positive for P63. P63 is typically seen as a nuclear positivity in these tumor cells. It is squamous cell carcinoma is negative for cytokeratin 7 and TTF1. Adenocarcinoma is negative for cytokeratin 5/6 and it is negative for P63, whereas it is positive for cytokeratin 7. Here we can see the cytoplasmic positivity of the tumor cells, and it is positive for the TTF1. TTF1 is demonstrated through nuclear, it has a nuclear positivity. So squamous cell carcinoma is positive for cytokeratin 5/6 and P63. Adenocarcinoma is positive for cytokeratin 7 and TTF1, and cytokeratin 20 can be used to differentiate primary lung adenocarcinoma from the metastatic adenocarcinomas. Coming over to my study, it is a prospective study. 54 cases of lung carcinoma were included. Tissue samples were bronchial or pleural biopsies in 10% formalin. Cases after being diagnosed on H&E sections, they were subjected to immunohistochemistry. Results: most of the cases were females, 80% of the cases were of males, and 20% were of females. Male to female ratio was of 4:1. 60% of the cases belonged to the age group 61 to 80. 38% cases belong to 41 to 60 years of age group, and 2% of the cases belong to less than 80 years of age group, more than 80 years of age group. In total, we had 54 cases which were taken for the study. On subjecting these 54 cases on H&E staining, 30 cases turned out to be squamous cell carcinoma on histology. 12 cases were of adenocarcinoma, and 9 cases were of poorly differentiated carcinoma on histology. These 30 cases of squamous cell carcinoma were further subjected to immunohistochemistry. The markers used were cytokeratin 5/6, pan-cytokeratin, and TTF1. out of 30 cases, 27 cases were positive for cytokeratin 5/6 and 3 cases were negative for cytokeratin 5/6. These negative cases may be due to the crush artifact. The immunohistochemistry was not very well visualized in these cases. All the 30 cases were positive for pan-cytokeratin, and all these 30 cases were negative for TTF1. Thus, all these 30 cases were on subjecting to immunohistochemistry were positive for the squamous cell marker, that is cytokeratin 5/6. On histology, 12 cases were of adenocarcinoma. These cases of adenocarcinoma were subjected to TTF1 immunohistochemistry, and on seeing, only 9 cases were positive for TTF1 and 3 cases were negative for TTF1. So these negative cases, when subjected to cytokeratin 20, they all were cytokeratin 20 positive and pan cytokeratin positive. This means that out of 12 cases of adenocarcinoma, which was seen on histology, 3 cases were of metastatic adenocarcinoma, which turned out to be positive for cytokeratin 20 and negative for TTF1, and all were AE13 positive. Thus, they were all of carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, and all these cases were negative for cytokeratin 5/6. On histology, poorly differentiated carcinoma were 12 cases. These 12 cases were subjected to AE13, cytokeratin 5/6, cytokeratin 20, and TTF1. AE13 was positive in 12 cases, thus confirming the carcinoma nature of these poorly differentiated tumors. Cytokeratin 5/6 was positive in 8 cases. So squamous cell, these poorly differentiated carcinomas were squamous cell positive. 8 cases were of squamous cell carcinoma. Out of these, then remaining 4 cases, 3 cases were positive for cytokeratin 20 and 1 case was positive for TTF1. Thus, 3 cases were of metastatic adenocarcinoma and 1 case was of primary adenocarcinoma. So these are the photomicrographs. This photomicrograph shows squamous cell carcinoma. Tumor cells, they are arranged in sheets and nests, and this inset shows polygonal tumor cells having hyperchromatic nuclei and prominent nucleoli. This is a photomicrograph showing cytoplasmic positivity on immunostain with cytokeratin 5/6. This is a case of poorly differentiated carcinoma. Here we can see the H&E stain section. This photomicrograph is of H&E stain section demonstrating poorly differentiated carcinoma. The tumor cells, they are arranged in sheets with large areas of necrosis. The inset shows small to medium sized cells having round to irregular hyperchromatic nuclei. On subjecting this poorly differentiated carcinoma to cytokeratin 20, the neoplastic cells show diffuse cytoplasmic positivity for cytokeratin 20. And here, this 2C shows that all these neoplastic cells, they are negative for cytokeratin 5/6, and 2D shows that all these neoplastic cells are negative for TTF1, thus confirming the metastatic nature of this poorly differentiated carcinoma into metastatic adenocarcinoma, because it is negative for cytokeratin 5/6, thus ruling out the squamous cell carcinoma, and negative for TTF1, ruling out the primary adenocarcinoma. This is a photomicrograph showing a poorly differentiated adenocarcinoma. The cells are arranged in poorly cohesive sheets, and this adenocarcinoma was positive for these tumor cells, they were positive for TTF1. Here we can see the nuclear positivity of the stain, thus confirming that this poorly differentiated carcinoma is a primary adenocarcinoma of the lung. This is a table showing sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value, and accuracy of the markers used. Cytokeratin 5/6 has 86.6% sensitivity. It is specific in 85% cases. The positive predictive value is 89.6%. The negative predictive value is 81%, and diagnostic accuracy is 60%. TTF1 has sensitivity of 50%, specificity of 97.7%, positive predictive value is 75%, negative predictive value is 93.5%, and the accuracy is of 92%. AE13 has a sensitivity of 85.1%, specificity of 33.3%, The positive predictive value is 95.2%, negative predictive value is 12.5%, and accuracy is of 82%. Cytokeratin 20, the specificity is 97.9%, the negative predictive value is 93.9%, and the accuracy is of 92%. So coming over to the discussion, the present study was conducted on bronchial and pleural biopsies with regards to ability to diagnose and differentiate non-small cell lung carcinoma. It is necessary for effective pulmonary cancer therapy specific, which is specific for the tumor subtype. The immunohistochemical studies that focused on poorly differentiated non-small cell carcinoma in small biopsy, when they are combined with H&E sections, they serve as a gold standard for accurately subclassifying the poorly differentiated non-small cell lung carcinoma. TTF1 and cytokeratin 20 have been recently reported to be useful to distinguish between primary and metastatic lung adenocarcinoma. So use of IHC in poorly differentiated tumors helps us to reach a definite diagnosis, which is otherwise not possible on H&E. Thus, using IHC either singly or a panel is a useful adjunct to morphological features and clinical parameters in the diagnosis and management of lung tumors. So take-home message, non-small cell lung carcinoma, on seeing the H&E section, if the morphology favors adenocarcinoma, it should be followed with TTF1, napsin A, and cytokeratin 5/6. If TTF1, napsin A, they both are positive and cytokeratin 5/6 is negative, it confirms adenocarcinoma. If the morphology favors squamous cell carcinoma, on subjecting them to TTF1, napsin A, and cytokeratin 5/6, if cytokeratin 5/6 is positive and TTF1, napsin A is negative, it confirms squamous cell carcinoma. If the morphology favors poorly differentiated carcinoma, on subjecting these to TTF1, napsin A, cytokeratin 5/6, and P63, if TTF1 and napsin A, both are positive, it favors adenocarcinoma. If cytokeratin 5/6 and P63 are positive and TTF1, napsin A, they are negative, it means it favors squamous cell carcinoma. And if it does not favor any of these, then work up for the metastasis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ishani. Thank you for a detailed presentation. And I request all the delegates, if they want to ask any question from the speaker. So if you want to ask, yeah, there's a question. Yeah, it's like, what about P40 in comparison with P63?
Yes, P40 is also a marker which can be used in squamous cell lung carcinomas, but due to the non-availability of the marker and due to the lack of funds, I could not do the P40 immunostain for the lung carcinoma.
Okay. So now I request all the delegates